crypto investors just got fudged. You see, yesterday, crypto liquidations exploded to $19.5 billion in 24 hours, meaning millions of traders that were betting the price of crypto would go up, were forced to sell. 16.7 longs were liquidated, while 2.46 billion shorts were liquidated, totaling over $19 billion wrecked. Most of that was forced selling. The largest single-day liquidation ever, 17 times bigger than COVID crash March 2020, and 13 times bigger than FTX, which at the time was the second largest exchange by trading volume. Horrible crash for crypto back then. And yesterday's crash was 13 times bigger, $19.5 billion in liquidations. Another history made. And really the biggest shock to the system, you saw this, you were here, were the altcoins. Some altcoins crashed from 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 to almost 80%. Cosmos Atom cryptocurrency literally dropped 99.98% to a penny. From $4 to a penny. And this coin was in the top 100. It was a very established layer 1 cryptocurrency. And why were altcoins hit so much harder than Bitcoin? Because, we were all here. I think you saw this. The first ever $20,000 Bitcoin daily candle happened yesterday. Unfortunately, it was a $20,000 candle to the downside. A flash crash. Meaning some investors were able to pick up Bitcoin at just over $100,000 again. The dip got bought up, which is good. Some traders were also able to pick up quality altcoins at fractions of pennies. And even though they only recovered 50%, it was $4, crashed to pennies. Now it's up at around $2. If you had a limit order set, you're up over 2,000% right now. I personally bought Bitcoin, Solana, and one other altcoin because I had limit order set. I'll share with you how to do that in this video. But what the hell happened, and is it over? Well, the reason that all markets crashed is because about 24 hours ago, Trump announced 100% additional tariffs on China. This was Trump's response to China, who I guess he heard they were about to limit rare earth exports, which the United States desperately needs. China has most of the rare earth.
Have now set to put in new export controls on rare earth minerals, and they've stopped buying soybeans from the U.S.
So Trump chose to escalate with these tariffs. And this was such a shock to the crypto market, to all markets, because the days and weeks leading up to yesterday, Trump had spoken very highly, very positively about a potential deal.
We have big advantages over China for lots of different reasons, and I think we're doing very well with China. I get along very well with President Xi. If those countries are hostile, and by the way, China hasn't been. We've made deals with China. President Xi was great. We're doing very well, as you know, with the trade deals. We're doing very well with China. Great respect for President Xi.
And then Trump blew up the deal, or actually he says that China and Xi were about to blow up the deal, so he responded with a Truth Social post, which caused markets to tank.
He says, it has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade and sending an extremely hostile letter to the world stating that they were going to, effective November 1st, 2025, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries, based on the fact that China has taken this unprecedented position. And speaking only for the USA and not other nations who were similarly threatened starting November 1st, 2025, or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes taken by China, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. Also on November 1st, we will impose export controls on any and all critical software.
So there's good and bad news. And the good news is, it's small but mighty, this has already happened. And crypto dipped the most, it crashed the most, because this happened on a Friday. The majority of it after trading hours. Yes, the stock market did have its worst day since April, Liberation Day. Trump announces reciprocal tariffs. It had a bad day, but then it was able to close. And by the way, it won't be open this Monday either for the holiday. Bitcoin and crypto, we're open 24/7, meaning we absorb the bad news, the good news, live by the sword, die by the sword in real time, anytime. Yet the stock market was able to close. Crypto was the only place you could react to this massive macro news that affects everything. Yet the fundamentals for crypto did not change. If you had Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was around $120,000, you still have one Bitcoin. And now it's cheaper, yet you weren't buying Bitcoin yesterday because you believed it would only be at 120 a year from now, 5 years from now. So you didn't lose anything. And if you wanted, if you still had cash, you were able to get a better entry point. Same thing for Solana. Same thing for Cardano. Cardano right now, it was closer to $1, closer to 80 cents. Now it's at 65 cents. Some people were able to pick it up for 30 cents. But if you believe in Cardano, you weren't holding it for where it was today anyway. You were holding it, you're an investor on where it would potentially be a year from now, 5 years from now. Yet the people that did lose money were the traders, because that's what liquidation means. It means that the price moved so far, so big, so fast that your position got wiped out. And if you were betting that prices were going to go higher, that's what longs are, and that's what got liquidated, that means they were forced sellers. Those long positions didn't sell because they didn't fundamentally believe in the crypto. That's how trading works. They were forced to sell, and this usually caused, and in this case that it did cause, cascading liquidations. Because if the Bitcoin price was at $125,000 and all of a sudden traders get liquidated, and that sends the price of Bitcoin down to 119, then those traders get liquidated, which sends the price lower, cascading liquidations. So many traders trading on leverage were wiped out. I do not want to diminish that. Leverage wipeouts happen every cycle. It just hits so hard today, this cycle, is because of some of the top coins trading, Hyperliquid, Binance's Aster, they're all decentralized perps trading. What got wiped out the hardest at Bitcoin's old all-time high when President Trump was launching a meme coin, when he was getting signed into office? Meme coins got hit the hardest then because they were very hypey. We needed to wipe the meme coin garbage out. Now the hype was all in leverage trading, Hyperliquid, Aster, centralized entities. We see crashes in every bull market. We see leverage wipeouts in every market, which is healthy, which allows the crypto market to healthily, fundamentally grow larger. Yet this hurts so much because this was the largest liquidation event in crypto history. Does not compare to the other years. 13 times bigger than FTX wipeout. Yet, if you could go back in time, back to 2022, the FTX collapse, and you would have bought that dip, whether it was the first dip, whether it went down lower, nobody knows what crypto is going to do 2 years from now, let alone tomorrow. But if you bought the dip and held because you fundamentally believed in it, you made out. Same thing with the COVID crash. This was bigger than the COVID crash. This was bigger than the FTX collapse. Yet the fundamentals of the market did not change. In fact, with all this global macro uncertainty, things like Bitcoin, things like decentralized finance get more appealing. And I like the brutal perspective. I liked this analysis. If you were bullish on Bitcoin and stocks 2 days ago, you should be even more bullish now. None of the fundamentals changed in the last 48 hours. We simply got a healthy reset that wiped out the excess leverage in the system. Now the market is cleared to go higher. And I would actually argue that this is more true for crypto, because some of the fundamentals for stocks did change to the negative. If we have 100% more tariffs, a lot of these companies for the next year are not going to have as many profits as they have to do all this juggling. So some company stock fundamentals, I think, did get worse. Nothing got worse for Bitcoin. In fact, a lot of these blue chip protocols got the ultimate stress test. Over the last hour, Solana's network demonstrated resilience under extreme demand. They saw raw transactions spike between 6 to 10,000 per second. Utilization reached up to 60 CUs per block, all while the median transaction fees remained low. So Solana has been stress tested by the meme coin frenzy about 6 months ago. Solana has just been stress tested to the other side. We also know that Tom Lee and his company Bitmine bought the dip for Ethereum. Tom Lee took this opportunity and, per the on-chain data, bought $104 million in ETH, over $100 million in ETH, showing institutions bought the ETH dip. We know that there's been an uptick globally for interest in BitTensor. Something about BitTensor you may not know: China interest is exploding. This is over the last 12 months, last year. Why do the Chinese people, why are they interested in decentralized AI? And it's interesting that American company Intel, you know Intel, they're massive, they're well-respected. One of BitTensor's subnets, Targon, just announced a strategic partnership with Intel during the OpenTensor novelty search. So what does Intel know? What does China know? And for those of you asking, how can I take advantage if well, first off, this is my general thoughts on what we will see in the next, let's call it month, because a lot of people were, including me, were expecting altcoin season. We're expecting a classic cryptocurrency blow off end of the year, end of the 4-year cycle, little bull market. Well, as I get new information every day, my thought process will update based on that new information and what I would expect to see. I think this was such a confidence shockwave. I expect to see a lot of chop in the market in the next coming weeks into the next month. Confidence has been blown. People aren't sure anymore. Despite the stress tests, despite nothing fundamentally changed, confidence has been shook, and I would expect consolidations, smaller shakeouts, and then, of course, up higher after, just like we saw during FTX, just like we saw during COVID. For those of you asking, how can I take advantage? If something like this were to happen again, I want to have a limit order. I want to have these lottery ticket-esque, let me put a limit order on a certain coin. If it reaches 1 cent or less than 1 cent, I'll put $5 in, get thousands of those coins when they're actually back to trading closer to their fair value. 2 things to understand. Number 1, it does depend on the exchange you use. For example, I'm on TradingView right now looking at the Bitcoin price on Bitstamp. We can see on Bitstamp, the price of Bitcoin only went down to $108,000, $109,000 per coin. On some exchanges, as you saw in other pictures, it went all the way down to 101, 102, down here. Bitstamp, I would guess the reason, because Bitstamp has been around so long, it's so liquid that the ultra volatility didn't happen on it. So it depends on the exchange. Some exchanges, so the price of Cosmos Atom dropped down to fractions of a penny, but most exchanges, it did not drop down that low. It depends on the exchange. If a certain exchange doesn't have the liquidity, then things happen fast. This is why you set coffee money orders. Place $5 into a limit trade at areas where probability of hitting it is almost none. If it hits, you make money. If it doesn't, you can still cancel the limit order anytime and get yourself that coffee. $5 into Atom coin at this price point got Michael 5,000 Atom coins. Now, since the price has recovered, those 5,000 Atom coins are worth $13,000 coming from 5. That's a 2,724x. Now you can get that cup of coffee every day for 7.46 years. That is something I personally did. I was using Coinbase actually, but that's how I was able to buy the Solana dip and buy the Bitcoin dip, because I had those limit orders set before. And there's a small chance I'm not talking about the 1 cent. I'm talking about Bitcoin was at 125, and I said, hey, if it dips back down to 111, I want to take out a position. If Solana was closer to, I forget what it was, but if it dipped back down to 180, 188, I want to take out a position. The key for this is going to be for any exchange you use, you're going to go to spot trading, spot limit order, and switch from market. Market is buying a coin at today's price now. Go to limit and say, hey, I don't want to buy at 110. I want to buy if it drops to 99,000. If you got value in today's video, click the like button to support me and share this video with a friend, because many people in crypto are thinking, whoop, market's done. That was the top. I missed it. But they don't know the true facts. Those were forced liquidations. It was forced selling. To me, that's manipulation that you sign up for, but it wasn't authentic, oh, I'm done with the asset I'm selling. It was a cascade of forced sellers. As I get more info, I will make a video. I will see you tomorrow.